Now, everyone has their opinion on the Star Wars prequels.
There's two sides. There's the light side and then there's the dark side.
Much like the Jedi Order.
And you might be thinking that the dark side is the people who hate it. No, it's the other way around. If you like these movies, you're on the dark side.
So, apparently then Mark Hamill... Mr. Luke Skywalker himself is on the dark side, according to you.
Okay, this is stupid. He's a big part of the Star Wars franchise. Of course he's going to say that those movies are good. He would not admit that they're bad.
Okay, you want to play that? We'll play that. Ewan McGregor, the guy who played Obi-Wan.
He said he didn't like him?
He said he regrets being a part of them.
He was like the best part about them, honestly.
I really liked him as Obi-Wan. But what did Mark Hamill
actually... It kind of screwed up his career. I mean, I understand that.
Not really. I mean, it didn't really do much to mess him up at all. Jake Lloyd, on the other hand, who played young Anakin, his career was destroyed. That's what Mark Hamill has to talk about. He said that when he was asked about, the criticism for episodes 1 through 3 that they've received over the years, he said, I couldn't believe some of the things they wrote about the prequels, I mean, really beyond I didn't like it. I'm still angry about the way they treated Jake Lloyd. He was only 10 years old. He did exactly what George Lucas wanted him to do. Believe me, I understand clunky dialogue.
He couldn't act.
Well,
to be in a movie, you have to act.
Star Wars wasn't the only movie that he was in, though. I mean, he was in other movies at the time, but that was
just a stupid doll.
It's just a stupid doll. He was in Jingle All the Way with Arnold.
And he was actually okay in that movie. That's what I don't understand. And that was before Star Wars, right?
Yeah, that was before Star Wars.
He was better in that.
Because George Lucas is not that good of a director. And he directed all 3 of the prequels. So I feel like people should cut him a little slack, because George Lucas, I don't think he's ever directed a child before. And you have to direct a child differently than how you direct an adult. Because a child will do exactly what you tell him to do as an actor. Mm-hmm. Whereas an adult, they'll be like, well, he's saying this, but I think this is what he is really telling me. And, they'll give a performance that pleases the audience and the director, if they're a good actor, that is. So, Mark Hamill's coming out to defend the prequels a little bit. And I haven't done this on the podcast here, so I'd like to do it here. I don't have a problem with the prequels. I really don't. Let's go through a couple of points, and I'm glad you're here, because I honestly don't know. I don't think, honestly, Matt probably doesn't care one way or another. So you tell me something that you don't like about the prequels. Just one thing. We'll just start with one.
Okay, Papi. You manipulated me.
Okay.
Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks. So, and a lot of people complain about Jar Jar Binks. And a lot of people...
Okay, and I will give you this. I don't have that hate. I don't have that undying...
I mean, people...
To me, it's just kind of like a meme. Like an overused meme. Like the hate about him. I don't feel that strongly about him. It's just he's a really annoying character. And I don't understand how his character fits in the universe. He's this idiot that they find, but somehow he becomes some really high Senate power later on. It just doesn't make sense to me, and he's really annoying.
It's a situation of being at the right place at the right time.
I don't like him at all.
So, okay, it's funny that everyone, a lot of the adults, well, you're not an adult. You actually grew up watching the prequels. Mm-hmm. See,
I was deceived by my youth.
I grew up watching the original trilogy, and then I want to say episode 1 came out when I was maybe 12 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So my teenagers and young adult life, or teenage years and young adult life, yeah, I said that right, were spent watching the prequels. And a lot of adults that grew up watching the original trilogy, they thought that Jar Jar Binks was annoying. The parents who were there for their kids watching the original trilogy, guess what character annoyed them in much the same way?
I'm going to say C-3PO.
Exactly. Now, C-3PO...
He's a lot different, though. He doesn't rise to a high Senate power. He's just there the whole time.
He's a different character.
He's not obnoxious. He's not loud and obnoxious.
He's not obnoxious.
funny. I think Jar Jar the way that he like what he tries to do. It's not. It feels like forced humor, and he's not funny at all.
To me, it's
like
very
slapstick.
He's like an alien version of Goofy.
But like that's the thing. Like all the stuff he does is so like slapstick and comical that it's like ha ha. I'm not 5. I don't find this very funny. Like I don't know. Like I mean, C-3PO doesn't have that same kind of humor. He's more witty and
but he does get he gets like blasted. His arms get blasted off. He gets like yeah,
but Jar Jar
broken into pieces
with like this stupid like clumsy like thing where he like kills those droids by like remember that like. It's so stupid.
It's very much like that classic Goofy cartoon when he's like where he's like sleepwalking and he's like walking through the construction zone and he like barely like is like barely escaping certain death.
I don't like Goofy. I don't like my Star Wars to be like
well
Goofy.
Okay, but that doesn't make it a bad character.
In my opinion,
like people have come after the prequels in a way like they're like, oh George Lucas, you destroyed my childhood. It's like
okay, I got some more points. So if you want to, I got stronger points.
Let's go.
Okay,
do some more.
Episode 2, Anakin and Padme
doing the whole their whole.
I don't like sand. It's rough, coarse, gets everywhere. Not like you.
I didn't have I didn't have problems with it until like literally everyone and their grandmother on the internet started to like be like, look how stupid this dialogue is. No one talks like this. Have you ever read any of like William Shakespeare's like stuff? It's as cheesy if not worse. And yes, I'm comparing Shakespeare to George Lucas's screenwriting. It like what people consider good romantic dialogue. There's no such thing as good romantic dialogue. Go to any chick flick and you're going to hear the same nonsense.
Okay, but that's not my main point. My main point is, okay, and I'll give the movie props for trying to do more out of its typically like the way people think about it, like trying to do something out of its norm of just action and stuff by giving more of a complex romantic plot line. But it wasn't good. It was bad, and they spent so much time on it.
It wasn't all bad. I'm not saying it was all good. As a kid,
that movie, there were so many boring parts watching that movie. I'm just like, okay, I get it. They like each other. Like, just move on. Like, like they have that whole thing where they like get away to like that place, where he has that whole speech about sand and crap. That's so boring and dumb, and it feels so forced, in my opinion. Like, just their whole romantic trope just seems really forced because it just needs to happen for what's going to happen later.
So the reason why he talks...
An angel.
Well, that was episode 1.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, and like the age gap is weird too. And
okay, I will give you that. The age gap is a little weird because we don't know how much older Padme is. But once he gets older,
I mean,
it doesn't really. I mean, honestly, it doesn't make a difference.
If we're going by the age gap from the first movie, she's literally like 20 years older than him.
I actually think she's only supposed to be like 14.
Yeah, they're trying to make her look younger, but she's like, in reality, she's like probably like 23 or something in that first movie.
Yeah, but that's
in the second one, just the whole romantic thing between them just seems very, very forced.
So the part where they're in the field,
gosh. Anyways,
puns never stop with you. When they're in the field and they have like the waterfalls surrounding them, and then
there's this scene where they're like with those beasts that like run around in the field, and they like tackle each other and stuff.
It makes me cringe. But then when he like rides on it and he falls off and like she runs over, like when she rolls him over and he's laughing, like that's genuine laughing.
It's so cheesy.
I didn't think that part was cheesy at all.
It's so cheesy and I do not like that.
Honestly, when guys like girls, that's what they do. They try to make them worry. They try to play pranks on them. That was very natural to me.
But you have to admit that the overall thing of it just feels forced for the plot line.
It could have been stronger.
Way better.
It could have been done better. Lucas has this really weird way of writing dialogue at times.
And they could have spent a little bit less time on it as well.
Yeah.
A little bit less dull time on it where nothing happens.
But have you honestly like compared it to the dialogue between Han Solo and Princess Leia? Some of that dialogue is just as bad.
I think that works that's way better.
The whole part where he's just like, go ahead, come on. Come on. what is he talking about there? And then
in the second one,
in Empire Strikes Back, and he's like, you don't want me to leave because of the way you feel about me, and like it's just that doesn't.
That was confusing because we didn't really know what was going on in between the first two the two movies. Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. That's kind of the sense it was trying to give, is that, you know, what they've been up to, we don't really.
And then when he's like, when they're trying to repair the Falcon, and he's like getting close to her, and he's like you like scoundrels,
yeah,
don't
that
you?
was weird.
And like she's like, I happen to like nice men. And then they kiss. It's like,
but none of that's as bad. None of that's as bad as. Especially, and Hayden Christensen's bad acting is just the icing on the cake with that whole thing. He's not a good actor, and he's not 10 years old. He should know how to act better.
He's not 10 years old.
He's bad. And don't even get me started with episode 3. You brought him here to kill me. And he's just like, and I know you're gonna bring up Mark Hamill's bad acting and some of his bad acting in the, but it's not near as bad as that, as like his monologues in the end, like Mustafar scene when he's like, he's like, we could rule the galaxy together. Like, oh my gosh. And
he was trying to tie it to the,
and even Natalie Portman's acting was bad too. You're breaking my heart. Like, it's not good acting in that scene.
I feel like that wasn't acted horribly.
Not horribly, but it's just it's feels so dramatized where it's like it's kind of hard to believe. Like, it just feels really over the top to where it's like not that believable to me. Like, where I just see it and I'm like, oh, like, I don't know.
I mean, I feel the way that the progression of Anakin's character from episode 1 all the way up through the end of episode 3, and you see him like basically start to be consumed by
that is done well.
Darkness. Yeah, that is done well.
But the actor could be better.
They could have had a better actor, but again, it's not like terribly it's not absolutely horrible. See, the thing is like, I thought episode 1 was fine up until people started talking about it on the internet, and I was like, hey, you know what, that is kind of weird. I do see what they're saying, but then like I go back and I watch the movie and I'm like, you know what, I just enjoy the movies. I don't like. I think we've gotten to the point where
Hayden Christensen's acting just bothers me too much. Because like, there can be plenty of scenes where it's like okay and it doesn't bother me, but when it's bad, it's bad. Like, I can't really get away from that. Okay, but back to episode 2, I do the Geonosian scenes that they saved that movie. Like with the Jedi fight in the arena.
In the beginning of the Clone Wars.
That's so awesome.
And
that's the best prequel in my opinion.
That's okay. The prequels do several things infinitely better than the original Star Wars movies. All of the lightsaber fights are better in the prequels. They're cooler. Better.
But they are cooler, but when I'm a little kid, but when I get older, as I've gotten older, I've seen how unnecessary some of the stuff is just to make it look cool. Like, they'll do these like really dumb little spin things and stuff, and it's like, that's not how real fighting is.
That's how that
I
is.
think a combination between the original, from the original movies, the fighting, you know, a combination of that and the newer one works best. Because like sometimes it just looks so choreographed, you know, like just to look cool, like some of like the really weird fancy moves they do. But yeah, they are better. The lightsaber fights are better. I'll give you that.
I mean,
they're more exciting.
Darth Maul, the fight with Dooku.
I don't like Darth Maul at all.
The fight with I want to say, well, Dooku at the beginning of episode 3, and then Obi-Wan and Anakin's fight was done really well. I think
that killing off Darth Maul in the first movie was a big mistake.
Yes.
I think that if they left him alive, it would have given Obi-Wan a lot more drive and purpose to do what he does.
If you watch the Star Wars Clone Wars or the Star Wars Rebels, you'll know that
plotline is so stupid, and you know it. Robotic legs.
I was hoping they were going to do a little bit better with that, but because the show, I like Clone Wars. I haven't seen any of Rebels, so I can't speak on that. But yeah, when they did that, and they gave him Starkiller's voice, who is the main character in The Force Unleashed. I thought that was a nice nod.
I have never understood the obsession with Darth Maul. He literally takes up like 5 minutes of screen time
because he has a double-sided lightsaber.
I know. I don't get it. He doesn't even look that cool, and he speaks twice. What does he say? I don't remember.
And it wasn't even that actor's voice.
I don't understand the obsession with him. But so the second movie,
He's a lot cooler than... See, I don't understand the obsession with Boba Fett.
Yeah,
Boba
we've
Fett's
talked about
pathetic.
this before. Yeah, I don't really care for him that much as myself. But the second movie is the best prequel.
I like the third one the best.
The third one is cool just to kind of see how it all pivots in the end.
Right.
But the third one, maybe the third one, but I just really like the second one. Like with all the Clone Wars stuff, is just really cool, and like the scene where he goes to that watery planet or whatever.
Yeah, and people have even
what's it
said
called?
that. People have even. Oh, you're talking about
What's it called?
Mon Calamari.
Is that what it's called?
Camino.
Yeah.
Camino.
Yeah. That's a really cool part.
That is a cool part.
Basically, just
People
everything
said
that's
that
not
it has
Anakin and
bad
Padme.
CG. There's no bad CG in the prequels. I'm sorry. Like,
Well,
I don't.
outdated. Not
It's-
bad for its time. No.
It still holds up though. The CG still, even from episode 1, like Jar Jar Binks is still a very convincing character on screen.
I don't know about that, but like it's good. It's very good for its time, but to me it is kind of outdated. But I'm not gonna.
To me,
I'm not gonna-
it's like if you think that's outdated, that's like calling the CGI effects in Jurassic Park outdated. Those still hold up too. If you go back and
In the
watch
original
Jurassic
Park?
Park, yes, there was CG,
Yeah, that's
and
outdated,
but it still looks good.
but it doesn't look very real.
I don't really, for what it did. Are there? I think CGI like with Rogue One when they CG'd Tarkin, they made it's like they did too. It's gonna sound weird. They did too good of a job animating his mouth that it looks cartoony when he talks, and like everything is really done like this when he talks, and his mouth is just moving like too much. Like when
They
people
try to make it look too organic.
it's like they're like using like his like full
Yeah.
range of motion. It's like you don't need to do that when people speak. Like it's like when you're I talked about this with Matt. When you're watching like a Pixar film, they're like super expressive and they're all doing this because
Are
it's like
they?
a cartoon. Yeah.
Like who?
Have you
Like
ever
in
seen The
Inside Out?
Incredibles? Or Inside Out?
is old.
Yeah, you could say Inside Out too. Like all of the characters.
Incredibles is the greatest movie of all time. But anyways,
But
I'm
my
not
point
giving
is-
the movie a bad vote because of the CGI, because I do think it's decent. It doesn't really take me out of the reality of it, but it just I can't say that it's not.
I think it still holds up. I mean, it was cutting
does
edge
its job.
then, and today, like I love seeing those effects from then. But yeah, I think I think the point is, I mean, and I won't go into it, but there's definitely flaws in the original trilogy.
But you think people just don't see those as much because they're the OG?
No, they're looking through nostalgic rose-colored glasses, and like they can't.
I'm not. I should be looking at the prequels with rose-colored glasses.
I just think you've been online too much. I can understand Jar Jar getting annoying as you get older, and maybe you think like, "Wow, that romantic scene's not written the best way."
It bothers me so much. It's so boring. I'm being honest. Like I never even read anything online about that. But like as I got older and when I would watch the second movie again, I'm like, I literally don't remember this much stuff about Anakin and Padme being in it because like I just tuned it out when I was a little kid because it was so boring. But
Well, yeah, that makes
the third
a lot
one
of sense.
might be superior just because it doesn't have that stuff, and there's a lot of the third one does a lot of stuff well, but also growing up with a sister who's an actress doesn't help because she severely mocks the acting in movies like that. So
Yeah,
it kind of makes me think negatively about those monologues.
yeah. I mean, I've done acting myself, and you can. There's definitely stuff that sounds natural and stuff that doesn't sound natural. I mean, yeah, there's definitely weak. But the thing is like there's weak. If you're gonna compare the trilogies together, there's weak acting in both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everyone has weird lines that they deliver, and it kind of goes back to how the movies were written. George Lucas, weird, like Mark Hamill calls it, he calls it clunky dialogue. It's strange to say these things. These are not things that people normally say in that way. So,
but the consistency of bad acting is a lot more prominent with Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman.
He does some
the other actors.
He does some acting very well.
ones.
Like when he's angry, especially in episode 2, like after when he like kills like all those sand people, and then he's mad about it. I can totally
Little Orphan
to me,
Annie.
That's convincing. That's convincing when he's just like. He's like, I hate them. Like he's a seething rage.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
And he's very proud and arrogant, and that's never like it's never said. It's just shown how arrogant he is. And then of course when he's Darth Vader, he's like super arrogant.
I just think there's things that they could have done they could have handled the prequels a lot better.
Well, sure,
and
you could say that about any movie though.
But when you compare the two, when you compare the original 3 and the prequels, I think that
I definitely like the 4, 5, and 6.
The prequels
better.
could have used a lot more improvement as in contestant with the originals.
Yeah. I think 4, 5, and 6 are better movies. However, I really don't think the prequels deserve as much hate as they get. They're not as bad.
I mean, I
as
can
everyone...
watch them. It's not like I like. It's not like I'm like, no, I'm never watching. Like, I still do enjoy them.
Yeah,
for the most part.
If I go back and watch Star Wars movies, like they belong there. And people just wish they didn't exist, and I don't understand why people are just like, oh, I can't enjoy them. You can't enjoy them at all, really. Can you just forget about like? Can you forget about things like dialogue and acting and just get lost in the movie for once? Like, I feel like those are the people that kind of have started this whole thing, and they've just.
And sometimes I get kind of caught up in that hate just because
it's
at this
easy
point,
to.
Just because at this point it's kind of become a meme. Like, a meme of hatred towards
and the thing is like
towards them. It's kind of fun.
And it got to a point where it's just like, oh, you like the prequels?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? You must have horrible taste in movies, and it's like it becomes a bit snobbish and hipstery and all that stuff. So anyway,
they're very
wanted
flawed.
to get that out on the podcast.
Mark Hamill apparently disagrees with me.
And agrees with me.
But he probably have to admit to a lot of my points as well.
Probably. I think he's a reasonable guy.